So we've talked about our forage management plan. The next major component we want to talk about is our breeding and our calving season plan. And so we need to think about, when do we want our calves born? And I'm going to kind of answer that in a little bit of an odd way and tell you the main thing is we don't want our calves born during the summer. Baby calves just do not handle the hot temperatures of the summer, and it's even worse if we're hot and humid. And so in Texas, we actually have 3 different seasons we could calve. So we could do a fall calving operation where we would calve mid-September, October into November. We could have a winter calving season, which would typically be late December, January type season, or we could have a spring calving season, which would be late February, March, and April. And I realize February is not technically spring, but when we think about a spring calving season, that's the window we're looking at. You want to decide on your calving season based on your forage plan. And so what we want to shoot for is we want to make sure that we have our calving season coinciding with the period where we can have plenty of high quality forage. And so ideally we want those calves to be about 60 days of age. And so that would be peak lactation for that cow when we have some of our best forage supply. So our example here in College Station, with Bermuda grass as a base and incorporating some winter annual forages like ryegrass, I actually kind of want to look at a January type calving season, January, February. So let's just say we wanted those cows to start calving January 10th. If we think about gestation length in beef cows, depending on the breed, we're talking about, on average, most breeds are going to be somewhere between 280 to 285 days. So if we look at starting to calve January 10th, to do that, we will want to turn the bulls out approximately March 31st to get those January born calves. Now, we have some replacement heifers and a few steers in here as well right now, but we'll focus on the replacement heifers in the picture. When do we want them to have their first calf? Well, we want them to calve at 23 to 24 months of age at the first time. And so to do that, we need to breed these heifers when they're 13 to 14 months of age. A lot of people think 15 months of age because they say, well, gestation is 9 months. But if we think about it, 9 months is only 270 days, and we talked about gestation being 280 to 285. So we need to be a little bit earlier than that 15 months. So 13 and a half to 14 months of age is a good point in time. How often should these heifers have a calf? Well, we want them to calve every year. Every 12 months is what we're looking for in a cow-calf operation. To do that, if we need her to calve every 12 months, and just to keep the math simple, if we think about gestation being 285 days, there's 365 days in a year. So what that tells us is we have to get that cow bred back within 80 days of calving to maintain that yearly calving interval. And so to do that, we want to make sure we have our cows, our replacement heifers, in good body condition score at the start of calving season. So as a quick reminder, if we were talking about 2 and 3 year old females, we would want them in a body condition score of 6 or better at calving. If we're talking about females that are 4 years of age or older, we would want them at least a body condition score of 5 or greater at the start of the calving season. So the next thing we need to think about is, how long do we want that breeding season to be? Well, I'm going to tell you, we don't want it any longer than about 90 days. And the reason we don't want it any longer than 90 days is occasionally some of the heifers, when they're still nursing, they're starting to get close to weaning, but they're still nursing, they can come back into heat and they can actually get bred, and that's not a situation we want. If we're keeping them for replacement heifers, we don't want them getting bred that early. If we're going to send them to a stocker operation or to a feedlot, we don't want them getting bred while they're still nursing that cow. So to avoid that or reduce our risk of that happening, we don't want that breeding season to be more than about 90 days. And if we do that, when we pull the bulls, the oldest heifers nursing those cows will only typically be about 5.5 to 6 months of age at that point in time. If you want to go shorter than 90 days, that's absolutely fine. But 90 days is kind of the max. Now, a lot of people say, well, I just want to leave the bull out year round. Well, if you choose to do that, there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. The big one is any heifers you're keeping for replacements or any heifers that you're selling, you need to make sure you sell them at an earlier age so that they don't get bred by that herd bull. And yes, that 2,200 pound herd bull will breed a 500 pound heifer without any problem. The other thing is, if you choose not to cut any male-born calves that are not going to be kept for breeding purposes later, they can actually breed some of their sisters at times. So that's another reason, and we'll talk about from a marketing standpoint the value of castrating, but that's another reason we want to castrate. The other challenge with the year-round breeding season is now it makes it very difficult to manage those cows from a supplementation standpoint, because we have cows at all stages of production throughout the entire year. Plus, you're having to always check for calves throughout the year. Whereas if we have that 75-day or that 90-day calving season, it's easier to appropriately supplement those cows. We can save money and we spend less time checking for babies and calving problems from a labor standpoint.